I can fight. Emblem Engage!
Don't stand in my way!
So, I'm completely new to the Fire Emblem series. I tried to run an hour of 3 houses, but it wasn't enough to get a solid opinion on the game. Fire Emblem Engage has been a very interesting time, and throughout this video I'm going to show you exactly how and why this game's changed me. But just before I show you that, make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Now, let's start off with the gameplay. I really enjoyed the tactical gameplay. For me, I didn't have too much experience playing a game like this. The only time I played a similar game was with Triangle Strategy, but I didn't even play that game for long. And so this is my first time playing a full-length game with this kind of gameplay style. And I really enjoyed it. It's a nice change of pace from the usual games I play, which are like active action games and turn-based RPGs. So with this one, I felt like I had a lot of time to be able to prepare and strategize and plan out the way I'm going to approach each fight. And so you have to pick the right pick the right type of units and make sure you're using the right emblems in certain areas to be able to engage with the enemy. And with emblems, that's a new thing in this game. If you didn't know, the emblems are old characters from previous Fire Emblem series, and they come and help you out, give you skills that you can use to obviously defeat your enemies. But what's cool about this is that not only can you pair an emblem with one character and they gain the skills of that emblem, you can also bond the emblems with other characters that they're not equipped with, and eventually you'll be able to inherit some of the skills that they have to those characters. So even though you're limited to pairing one emblem with one character, you can still share some of the skills between all the other characters that you get. And there are a lot of characters in this game that you can play with, so it's very useful to have that. Also, when you do enter a fight with an enemy, the game has some really cool animations, the way it kind of swoops right into a close-up of the fight. And I really like how the characters move with when they attack enemies, especially on critical hits. They have these really unique animations where the characters kind of move swiftly, or they move, depending on what kind of class they are, they might move heavily or they might move really quickly if they're an assassin or something like that. And it's just really cool to see the different kinds of animations that they put into the game. As for difficulty, this game has an easy, medium and hard mode, but it also has an extra option for classic and casual mode. Classic being the usual Fire Emblem style, where if your characters die, you lose them forever. And with casual, if they die, you can just bring them back in the next fight. But in this game, you get this item right at the beginning where you can rewind time infinitely. So I picked classic mode, but I didn't really see the point of playing in classic mode because you can just rewind time anyway if you lose a character. But I think it's helpful for further on in the game because things get a lot harder and you tend to lose a lot of allies if you make too many mistakes. And so instead of having to restart the entire fight, rewinding time makes things easier. But again, if you want that cutthroat old Fire Emblem style of things, then you can just ignore using that item. But it was really tempting for my first time playing because I really didn't want to lose any characters, so I kind of fell into the trap of using it. But for the next playthrough, maybe I'll just ignore it and play the usual way. But yeah, just a heads up for that one if you didn't know. I don't think I need to go over all the upgrades and stuff like that. It's the regular JRPG stuff. You can upgrade characters and move them to different classes and things like that. What's nice is that every character can be in any class as long as you give them the correct proficiencies, and you get that through, as I was mentioning before, bonding them with different emblems. And as you level up their bond between different emblems, they gain those proficiencies in like being an assassin, being a swordsman, a archer and something like that. It's very simple to understand and very easy to customize the characters the way you want them to be. Another big part of the gameplay in this game is this hub area called the Somniel, and it's a place you go to in between fights where you can interact with all your favorite characters there. And this is sort of like a dating sim area or friendship sim where you can go through different scenarios with the characters after increasing your bond between them by doing different mini games and activities within the Somniel, and also just fighting with them on the battlefield raises your bond with them. But yeah, you can see different scenes between your main character and all the other characters, or even between two other characters that you have on your roster. It's a nice change of pace from the fights, but it's not as interesting as the actual combat in the game. But I do like the hub area. You can buy items there. You can buy new weapons, and there's a smithy there where you could upgrade all your weapons, and you can also buy clothes for your characters to wear within the Somnia and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool for the people who want that chill experience on the side. It's there for everybody to check out and play as little or as much as you want. Also, within this area, there actually are a few combat modes to play around with, one being relay mode, which is a cool mode where you're given a set number of turns to operate in on a map, and once those turns are up, your game progress is saved and given to the next person. So you either get a code where you can send it to your friend and they can continue for you, or a random person online can find your room and then join into your game and continue from there. The cool thing is you can see your progress as well, so you can see how far people have gotten based on how you started, or you can even join someone else's halfway through and then have a look to see if the next person managed to finish, or if everything went wrong. There's also the Tempest trial, where you go from map to map and you complete as many as you can before you lose all your characters, which is really cool. It takes really long, obviously, because fights in this game are long, but it does save your progress, and it does give you some really nice items that you can use to upgrade your weapons, which you can't actually get anywhere else in the game, as far as I'm concerned. And finally, there's the Outrun trial, where you go online and play against other players' armies on selected or edited maps. And the last thing you can do in the Somniel is use this gacha system to get more rings, because in this game you can only get 12 rings to equip to 12 different characters, of course, and with every other character you can still equip them with these basic rings that give them stat upgrades. And what you do is you summon 4 rings and you get a different rarity based on luck. I don't know the percentages, but the highest ranked one is like a platinum ring and the lowest is a bronze one. So you just keep spending some in-game currency to get as many as you can, and obviously the higher ranked ones give better boosts to stats. But yeah, it's a pretty decent system. I don't think the percentages of getting the higher ranked ones are too low, because I did get quite a few of them. But yeah, there's always something that they have to put in the game that's a gacha system these days, but it doesn't really harm anything, and it's not really a detriment to upgrading your characters, and doesn't really get in the way of any of the gameplay elements. And yeah, so you don't need to rely on this thing in any way, shape or form. It's just there so you can get a few status upgrades for your characters.
We live on the continent of Elios, 4 realms surrounding a holy land at its center.
Now, as for the story, it's a very standard story. It's nothing crazy, honestly. It's one of those stories that you've seen before, but doesn't do anything too crazy. It doesn't do anything to mess anything up, and it doesn't do anything to separate from the rest of them. It's just a standard story. It has some nice scenes. I do like the animated scenes where it's actually upgraded more than the actual in-game graphics. They look really nice, and the voice acting is really good as well. A lot of great voices, a lot of great characters, unique characters in the story to come across. So I like the way some of the voice actors played around with the different voices that they used for them. So that's always fun. The best part of the game is meeting up with the characters in the story and recruiting them to your team. So that's why I enjoyed going through the story. Even though it wasn't something super exciting, it's definitely still fun to see the new people you come across. There's also more DLC coming later, so there's more story added. I don't know whether it'll be after the events of the game or before the events of the game, or in between somewhere, but that remains to be seen. But I'm sure it's going to be cool to find out some new characters that you can introduce to yourself and bring them to the Somnia. There are also some side missions where you can recruit some new allies, but there are also ones where you would relive a moment from a previous game with the respective emblem. So for instance, with Marth, you can sort of go to this area and he talks about how, oh, this is where I fought so and so, and then you sort of relive the fight with him on the same map, which is pretty cool. Now, when it comes to the graphics and performance, it's a decent Switch title. It looks nice, especially the character models, but everything else kind of just looks average. And the game runs fine. There was only a few moments where I had some stuttering and frame drops, but that was mainly when I was playing on a bigger TV. When I'm playing on my sort of monitor on my desk setup, it was fine. So I don't really know if it's just my Switch or the game, but that's pretty much it. But for the most part, it's pretty fine. Now, as for the music, I really enjoyed the music in this game. I thought it was really epic, and I really love how when you're on a map, the music is very, not to say calm, but the music is one way, and then once you get into the animation for a fight, the music will ramp up to like a more exciting version of the same song within the same point of the song, and then when the fight ends, it kind of dies down and goes back to the sort of calming version of the song, which is really cool. I don't know how they've done that, but it's really exciting. In the end, Fire Emblem Engage is a great intro into the series if you're a fan of modern JRPGs, and ended up making me a new fan of the series. The game makes things easy to understand and feel seamless, as well as introducing you to a vibrant cast of characters, each with their own unique quirks and abilities. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you've played Fire Emblem Engage, please let me know what you think in the comment below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? And if you haven't, but you're on the fence and interested, I would definitely suggest giving the game a try. It's worth just jumping in and messing around with the different things you can do within combat and within the Somniel, and exploring all the different things the game has to offer. So if you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.